For years, millions of people, especially those over 50, have adopted multivitamins as part of their morning routine, believing they were doing something good for their bodies. After all, who wouldn't want to ensure their health with a simple capsule? But what if that seemingly harmless pill was, in fact, silently sabotaging your body? Behind many colorful labels and exaggerated promises lie cheap, synthetic, and even harmful substances hiding under the disguise of health in a capsule. The problem is that the side effects don't appear immediately, they accumulate like a ticking time bomb. What is your body trying to tell you, but you still haven't noticed? In this video, you'll discover the hidden side effects of cheap multivitamins that no one talks about, and, more importantly, how to protect yourself in a smart and safe way. We're going to reveal what the packaging doesn't say, how to identify the warning signs your body gives, and what to do to avoid long-term consequences that may seem, today, like just mild fatigue or a recurring headache. Stay until the end because you'll learn how to make much safer and more effective choices without depending on brands that hide more than they reveal. And if this content opens your eyes, don't forget to like, share, subscribe to the channel, and comment. Have you ever suspected that something as common as a multivitamin could actually be doing harm? Your experience might help others too. It's no coincidence that multivitamins have become almost mandatory items on shelves and in daily routines. For decades, a powerful combination of marketing, fear, and idealized promises built the idea that taking a pill a day was a simple and guaranteed way to maintain health. The message was clear and comforting. Even with an imperfect diet, you would be protected. This belief especially took hold among older adults, who began to see supplements as a shield against aging and its natural consequences. This trend of outsourcing care for the body created a silent dependency. Instead of encouraging more conscious choices, the indiscriminate use of multivitamins became a kind of emotional crutch. And since the negative results don't appear immediately, the feeling that everything is fine keeps the cycle going. But as with every poorly planned cycle, there are consequences that accumulate. And the body, especially after 50, feels more than it shows. There is much more behind those colorful and seemingly harmless formulas. A closer look at the ingredients reveals details that go unnoticed by most, but that may be directly linked to symptoms that appear over time. And that's exactly what we're going to examine next, with a detailed look at what's really hiding inside those capsules that many people take daily without knowing what they're actually ingesting. When looking at a bottle of cheap multivitamins, the impression is that it contains everything the body needs: vitamins, minerals, and a promise of health. But behind this nutritious appearance, the reality is very different. Many of these formulas use synthetic ingredients, derived from cheap and low-quality substances. Instead of providing nutrients the body easily absorbs, these products deliver chemical versions that are often not utilized by the body, or worse, are stored in a toxic manner. This means that even taking them every day, your body may be receiving almost no real benefit. Additionally, some of these supplements contain artificial colorings, stabilizers, and preservatives that have no nutritional function whatsoever. These additives are there only to make the product more visually appealing, more durable, or easier to mass-produce. For those over 50, with naturally more sensitive metabolism, these substances can become a silent problem. The liver, for example, can become overloaded trying to process compounds it doesn't even recognize as food. And what the body can't eliminate, it stores, generating a dangerous cumulative effect. Another rarely discussed point is the proportion of nutrients in these products. Many cheap multivitamins have very high doses of certain vitamins, well above what the body actually needs. This overdose, contrary to popular belief, does not bring more benefits. In some cases, it can cause serious imbalances, such as kidney problems, constant headaches, and even blood pressure fluctuations. And since these effects appear gradually, it's common for the person not to link the discomfort to the supplement. They keep taking it, unaware that the remedy is in fact the villain. There's also the issue of ingredient interactions. Certain minerals compete with each other during absorption and end up canceling each other's effects. For example, an excess of calcium can impair the absorption of magnesium and zinc, minerals that are essential for bone and immune health, especially after 50. In other words, what seemed like a complete combo may actually be functioning as an internal battle between poorly combined nutrients. All of this is due to a poorly planned formula made more to save on production costs than to promote real health. Behind every cheap capsule, there's a cost saving for the manufacturer and a burden that falls on the body of the consumer. It's no surprise that many begin to feel persistent fatigue, unexplained aches, or even mood changes without realizing the cause. The body speaks, but not always loudly. And understanding these signals might be the first step to avoiding bigger consequences. Especially because side effects don't appear dramatically, they arrive slowly, camouflaged in routine. And it's exactly this kind of silent symptom that many ignore until it becomes impossible not to notice. Many of the side effects caused by cheap multivitamins don't show up blatantly. They arrive disguised as common symptoms: fatigue without reason, a headache that keeps coming back, mild digestive issues that seem normal with age. But the truth is that the body is reacting to substances it doesn't recognize as natural. By ingesting synthetic vitamins daily, in excess or poorly combined, the body enters a constant state of alert, trying to balance what's been imposed on it without any real need. One of the most affected systems is the liver, which is responsible for filtering everything that enters the body. When it becomes overloaded by additives and high doses of artificial nutrients, it may slow down, which directly affects energy levels, digestion, and even mood. Most people don't associate this fatigue with a supplement that was bought specifically to boost energy. And that's the most concerning part. The body's signals are interpreted as just getting older, when they might actually be silent warnings. For those over 50, these effects are even more relevant, since the metabolism no longer functions with the same efficiency as before. The ability to absorb and eliminate substances decreases, which increases the risks of mild toxicity and accumulation of harmful residues. A simple mineral imbalance, for example, can affect blood pressure, kidney function, or even bone health. And since these symptoms don't come with a direct warning label, they go unnoticed until something more serious happens, like an unexpected diagnosis or a preventable hospitalization. When choosing something too cheap, it's common for the quality of ingredients to be sacrificed. This means you could be consuming nutrients that don't work, or worse, that interfere negatively with your system. And while the label promises energy, immunity, and longevity, what's actually being delivered is a mixture of substances the body tries to fight off rather than absorb. This false sense of care is what makes it even more dangerous. You think you're doing the right thing, but your body is being silently sabotaged day after day. And the most ironic part is that, in trying to improve their health, many people end up worsening the very issues they were trying to avoid. High blood pressure, low energy, muscle loss, cognitive difficulties, all of this can be fueled by poorly formulated supplements. And when the symptoms appear, no one thinks to look at the multivitamin as the possible cause. Instead, new medications are introduced, new tests, new worries. The snowball grows, and what was once cheap becomes an expensive cycle, emotionally, physically, and financially. Fortunately, there are ways to recognize the warning signs and avoid falling into traps. But for that, you have to pay attention to what's not always on the label, and instead focus on the details that the eyes often ignore. And it's precisely when we hear stories from people who've been through it, who've lived the consequences firsthand, that the pieces begin to fall into place. Several reports have begun to emerge from people who, after years of taking cheap multivitamins, noticed their health worsening instead of improving. A recurring case is that of adults who felt persistent fatigue and joint pain, even while maintaining a healthy routine. When they stopped using the supplement, these symptoms significantly decreased. This raised an important red flag. Was the product helping or hurting? Stories like these were the starting point for more serious investigations into the real impact of these popular and accessible formulas. Recent studies, such as one published by the Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health, have shown that the prolonged use of generic multivitamins may have little or no effect on preventing chronic diseases. Furthermore, studies conducted by universities such as Johns Hopkins revealed that, in some cases, excessive consumption of certain nutrients, like synthetic vitamin E or beta-carotene, may actually increase the risk of heart problems or certain types of cancer. These findings challenge the common belief that vitamins never do harm. Another concerning fact came from an analysis by Consumer Lab, which tested dozens of brands available on the market and found inaccurate nutrient levels in many cheap products. In some cases, the capsule contained less than half the advertised amount. In others, there was an excess of ingredients that could be toxic if consumed regularly. For people over 50, this type of inconsistency represents an even greater risk, since the body no longer processes everything with the same efficiency as in youth. There are also clinical cases observed in medical offices, where health professionals began to notice a common pattern among patients with vague and continuous symptoms. After investigation, the common link was the use of low-cost multivitamins. By discontinuing the product and adjusting the diet, or switching to cleaner and better balanced formulas, many of these patients reported rapid improvement, which triggered a yellow light among specialists. The conclusion wasn't that all vitamins are harmful, but rather that quality matters much more than previously thought. These discoveries are changing the way many people view supplements. And more importantly, they're highlighting the need for a more careful look before putting anything into the body. The next step is learning how to identify a truly trustworthy multivitamin, one that nourishes without harming, and that aligns with the real needs of those who are already past 50. Because, in the end, what defines a good supplement isn't the price, it's how it respects your body. With so many options on the shelves and promises on the labels, it's hard to know which multivitamin is really worth it. But there are clear signs that help separate a good supplement from those that only appear to be. The first step is simple: look at the ingredient list. If it looks more like a lab report than something related to nutrition, be suspicious. Ingredients with complex names, codes, and excessive artificial additives usually indicate a synthetic, poorly designed formula, made to cut costs, not to promote real health. Another essential point is the form of the nutrients used. Vitamins and minerals can come in various chemical forms, and some are much better absorbed by the body than others. For example, vitamin B12 in the form of methylcobalamin is better utilized than cyanocobalamin. The same goes for magnesium. Versions like glycinate or malate are gentler on the digestive system and better absorbed than magnesium oxide, which is common in cheaper products. Understanding these small differences makes a big difference in real results. Transparency is also a sign of quality. Good manufacturers clearly state the dosages, ingredient sources, and avoid proprietary blends, generic mixes with fancy names that hide what's really inside. Moreover, a good supplement doesn't try to pack everything into one capsule. That's impossible without compromising quality. Honest formulas are balanced and focus on essential nutrients, with safe and effective dosages. When it comes to smart supplementation, less is more. Another important tip is to check whether the product has undergone independent quality testing. Certifications from third-party labs indicate that what's on the label is actually in the bottle. This is especially important to avoid cross-contamination, excess heavy metals, or ingredients different from what's advertised. And for people over 50, this kind of care is even more important, since any imbalance can have more pronounced effects on the body. Safety and clarity are non-negotiable at this stage of life. Finally, it's always worth observing how your body reacts to the supplement. A good multivitamin doesn't cause discomfort, headaches, or sleep disturbances. On the contrary, it should bring a mild sense of well-being, more energy, and balance. When the right choice is made, results appear subtly but consistently. And by taking this care, many people report not only physical improvement but a newfound confidence in their own decisions. After all, understanding what you consume is also an act of self-care. And that awareness completes a learning cycle that can transform how each person takes care of their health. Now that we've come this far, it's clear that what seemed like a healthy and harmless habit might actually be sabotaging your health without you even noticing. Cheap multivitamins, so common in daily life, hide in their formulas ingredients that the body rejects, tolerates poorly, or doesn't even utilize. The promise of protection has become, for many, a silent risk. And once you're past 50, that risk multiplies. Every choice makes a difference. And now, with all this information, that decision is in your hands. You've seen how the industry created a false sense of security, how symptoms appear slowly, and how it is, indeed, possible to choose better. Identifying what truly works is the first step toward living more balanced, without relying on misleading formulas. Taking care of your health doesn't need to be complicated, it just needs to be conscious. And if this video helped you notice something you hadn't before, share this knowledge. Someone you love might need to hear exactly this right now. Before you leave, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with anyone who also takes supplements every day. And tell me in the comments, have you ever had a bad experience with multivitamins? Have you ever suspected they might be doing harm? Your story might open the eyes of others. Shared information is multiplied health. And remember, sometimes the danger isn't in what's missing, but in what you're swallowing without question.